Greetings, Business 409 students, Conversation Management. This is Professor Nguyen. It is cold in Georgia. So I'm sitting here giving you insights on what we need to do for week number 8, especially the written assignments in which 3 students already submitted. However, I want to give additional support to those who have not submitted the assignment for week number 8. So in week number 8, these are the tasks that you need to do. Read chapter 10, which talks about legally required benefits. And chapter 11 discusses about compensating executives, in which our discussion question pertains to this particular topic. Then review the PowerPoint presentation that are provided with summarized topics in chapter 10 and chapter 11. There are 3 videos that are posted via the link for you to watch, which are relevant to legally required benefits and compensating executives. Post week 8 discussion after you have read chapters 10 and 11, or review the PowerPoint presentations. After you post your discussion for week number 8, make sure you make an effort to respond to one peer's posted discussion with substantial feedback. So after you done your reading, discussion, and provide a response to a peer's posted discussion, plan for writing the second written assignment on an effective compensation plan for your company or for the existing company that you have or work with. So the written assignment will be submitted on November 29th, and this assignment is worth 190 points. So I am making a model of a discussion for week number 8. And the discussion question for week 8 talks about the popular press and media accounts suggest that executives or CEOs, which are chief executive officers, are overpaid. For example, the average yearly salary of a CEO of a Fortune 500 company in 2018 was 14.5 million. And this salary is way over the average worker, where he or she make about 39 or estimated to $40,000. So the discussion is, based on the salary of a CEO comparing to the average worker's salary, is the CEO pay justified? Is the CEO pay appropriate? So support the argument with specific examples or clarifications. Here go an example of a post that you might want to share. Compensating workers for their contributions is necessary and legally required by laws. Workers of all levels look forward to their paydays because being paid for their labor is the intrinsic motivation for their willingness to work. Joseph Mar Tokyo shared that compensation represents both intrinsic and extrinsic rewards employees receive for performing their jobs. When compensating workers, organizations use different metrics such as skills, knowledge, competence, experience, education, and a myriad of factors like qualification and geographical location. While organizations have used aforementioned criteria to pay their workers, there are also pay disparity and discrimination based on many unfortunate factors, like despite employment laws, like the Fair Labor Standard Act and the Civil Rights Act that have been in place to ensure fair and equal pay for our workers. In regards to compensating chief executive officers or CEOs, I think the compensation rewards are not appropriate. Even though CEOs have to make strategic decisions for growth, operations, and the livelihood of the companies, their pays are many times higher than the average workers. Thus, I do not believe in heaven. I believe in having human resources managers to conduct market researches so they can continue to implement fair and successful versus practices that are blatantly contrary to law. So then I cited, because I use this part to enhance my argument. So as you can see here, I'm using a small quote, not 2 or 3 sentences of published details from an author. So it is okay to use quoted citation. Make sure that the quoted citation is not long. So Tanya did an amazing job hosting her discussion. So, and I'm giving her an example feedback, and this is considered substantial feedback. I do agree wholeheartedly about the critical position of the chief executive officers of any company. However, frontline workers are the core of the company, and these frontline workers do all they can to ensure they implement the company's missions and objectives. In many cases, they have to work in places. They do not have to work in places. They have to work in places and time when CEOs do not have to experience. In addition, to the core compensation that the CEO makes, they have other perks like paid travels. Unfortunately, the frontline workers do not have these privileges. A tiny fraction of the CEO's perks can also pay for a big portion of the company's frontline workers' salaries. In addition, I do not think CEOs' compensation rewards are not balanced with the company's long-term compensation. So I chime in with her discussion where I provide a counter argument about the CEO pay being justified. So in week number 10, in week number 8, chapter 10 discusses about the legally required benefits. So in addition to the monetary compensation, which is the core compensation, companies in the United States are also legally required to provide additional benefits like unemployment insurance, old age, survivor, disability insurance, which is called OSD. And this law was established in 1935. So in order to be eligible for retirement, workers need to have 40 credit hours. And as of now, we have the 65 years old retirement age requirement. But in 2022, the age will move up to 67. In addition to social security programs, company needs to provide workers' compensation, family medical leave insurance. So the average worker will get about 12 weeks unpaid for family medical leave. Health insurance. So under the policy, if workers are terminated due to layoffs, he or she can continue to have coverage for 18 months under the COBRA legislation. So these are some of the legally required benefits in addition to the core compensation. Then in chapter 11, it talks about compensating executives. So of course, the executive officer or the CEO is the seller of his or her companies. And the CEO in this situation wears many hats. So because of these hats, he or she considered as a key employee or maybe highly compensated employees. So to be key employees, workers need to make 175,000 or more and a 5% owner. And the highly compensated workers make about $120,000. And in that particular year, he or she maintain a 5% ownership. So in an ideal world, CEOs perform many tasks, and their tasks most likely drive up the company profits. So based on this risky task that CEOs have to assume, they get the big bucks. In addition, their compensation is normally approved by the board of directors of a company. So in week number 8, you have to submit the written assignment, which is due in week 8, at the end of week 8 on November 29. And this assignment is worth 190 points. So before you do this, you need to research the components of an effective compensation plan. So for this assignment, you have to focus on the beneficial ratio. Focus on methods company use to assess employee satisfaction relative to pay structure. You need to discuss employer-sponsored retirement plans and insurance programs. Then you need to focus on discussing a minimum of 2 discretionary benefits. So these are the 4 major components of your compensation plan. Be able to discuss the beneficial ratio, be able to discuss methods that you or your company can use to assess employee satisfaction, discuss employer-sponsored retirement plans and insurance programs for workers, recommend 2 high-value discretionary benefits that employees would like to receive or can receive. So these are the 4 major components that you must discuss for this assignment. And with that in mind, be able to use 3 quality resources with in-text citation. Don't provide the sources if you don't text, if you don't provide the in-text citation. that's like you do it and it's not necessary, because how do I know, or how do readers know which site, which sources go with what particular ideas that you're trying to argue? So no in-text citation, no sources. No sources, no in-text citation. So you have to provide both. So if you need help with how to cite, go to your module and click on Strayer Writing Standards and read the sample paper. It will explain for you how to use in-text citation with appropriate way to write the sources in the source page. So the overall goal or learning outcome of this assignment is to determine the components of an effective compensation plan, including discretionary benefits like vacation. So these are the 4 major components of an effective compensation plan. So as you can see here, when you're trying to discuss about the beneficial ratio of internally consistent and market consistent compensation system. So what you have trying to do is, for example, you have 10 workers in the same job assignment. And how do you pay? And how do you determine whether or not you don't pay too high or you don't pay too low? So you do a market research and you want to know the step 1 of an assembler would make, or versus a person in the step 10. So you do the research and you want to see what is the market paying right now. So then you look at what is your lowest pay, what is your highest pay, what is your middle range. So you take the actual salary of whoever you pay, divide the midpoint. So let's say if your lowest salary is 20,000 a year and the midpoint salary is 25, you would take 20,000 divided by 25, multiplied by 100, it will give you a ratio. Okay. So a commonly accepted range for the benefits ratio is 80 to 120%. This is considered one of your top pay. Okay. So if you go below this, you might not be able to retain your worker. You pay too high, you don't have the money to pay other workers, or you don't have the money set aside for growth or expansion of your company. So as you can see here, the percentage translate into the ratio. Okay, so if your ratio is translate into 80%, this is where you pay the new worker. Okay, so if you pay below that, your worker might leave. If you pay way too high for new workers, you're losing money. So this is the reason why you need to determine the beneficial ratio inconsistent to compensation system. Then how do you assess employee satisfaction? Well, normally company use performance appraisals. You might have a net promoter scores. You might have a one-on-one meetings. You might do a surveys. So whatever methods you can use, be able to provide a rationale. Retirement and health insurance plans. So as a company, what retirement plans do you plan to offer? Roth IRA, traditional IRA, pensions, whether traditional or defined contribution plan. For the insurance health plan, what are you planning to offer to the workers? Will you use HMO, PPOs, or other plans? Discretionary benefits. What are some of the benefits that you can offer extra in addition to the core pay, such as life insurance, childcare stipends, wellness program, sick leaves, vacation time, or maternity and paternity leaves? So, see the 4 components: discretionary benefits, retirement, health insurance plans, assessing employee satisfaction, and the ratio beneficial ratio. So those are the 4 components. So with the 4 components, you should be able to write 4 to 6 pages. And the 4 to 6 pages excludes from the cover and the source page. Your content page must be a minimum of 4 pages long. So see here, this is an example of your cover page. You need to have a cover page. And the cover page is centered, just like that, double space. And because this is a research paper, you need to make sure that you use a subheading. Subheading is normally center. And the first sentence we do is we indent. We indent the first sentence. You see here? As you can see here, the spaces are evenly spaced out. There's no spacing gaps. So this is what you need to do. Be able to use double space throughout the paper. And this is how you list a source. If you use the Strayer writing standards, it is very simple. You list the source 1, 2, and 3. Don't just provide a URL. Provide the author first and last name, the date, and the title. The URL is the last thing you include. So as you can see here, if you use the Strayer standard, you can just list source 1. And when the reader goes to source 1, they'll be able to identify what this is. Okay, so I hope that you be able to use the insights, the recommendations that I provided here to complete the task and the written assignment for week number 8. If you have further instructional need, contact me via texting, calling, or emailing me. Don't wait until the last minutes. We are at week number 8 now. So week number 10, number 11 is only 3 weeks away. So time is running out. So spare a moment of your busy time to do this week's task and the other week's task if you have not done so. Have a great day. This is Dr. Nguyen.